The hospital room radiated an aura of serenity, immaculateness, and warmth, creating a cozy haven akin to the comfort of one's own home. This was hardly unexpected, given the astronomical fees demanded by this prestigious private clinic. Reserved exclusively for the elite, only women of considerable wealth had the honor of experiencing childbirth here, and Lisa was among this privileged group. At the tender age of 24, her stunning beauty was accentuated by a radiant smile and kind, gentle eyes. Normally poised and serene, Lisa's usual composure had been shattered. An intense restlessness overtook her, and she found herself pacing the room, unable to find any peace. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. Lisa, on the brink of motherhood, was about to embark on an extraordinary journey. Her situation was made even more remarkable by the fact that she was expecting not just one, but 3 precious lives. Such a rare event in the clinic, and indeed the entire city, meant that the medical staff were perpetually at her side. They meticulously monitored her condition, conducting endless tests and debates, constantly evaluating whether she would need to undergo a complex surgical procedure. Anxiety and fear gripped Lisa's heart as she fervently hoped to avoid the operating table. Yet the obstetricians were dubious about her ability to endure the monumental challenge unaided. The exhausting process took a severe toll on her, both physically and emotionally. What truly terrified Lisa, however, was the looming reality that she would be raising her 3 little miracles alone, confronting the immense responsibilities of single parenthood. This daunting prospect cast a shadow over her joy, a twisted narrative for which she placed the blame squarely on the rigid and unyielding shoulders of her father. As night cloaked the world in darkness and Lisa sought the comfort of sleep, her mind churned with the chaotic events that had woven the tapestry of her complex life. Memories surged like a relentless tide, leaving her feeling agitated and distressed. Lisa had been adopted by her wealthy father, Alan, a prominent businessman who had lovingly welcomed her into his life when she was just 5 years old. The orphanage days were a blur, mere snippets of a distant past. She recalled a stern caretaker named Polly, the unappetizing soup that turned her stomach, and the constant skirmishes with her fellow orphans. Alan had rescued her from that dreary existence, providing her with a life of luxury and privilege. Yet the golden cage he had placed her in came with its own set of bars. Alan's expectations were high, his love conditional on her adherence to his stringent standards. Lisa had always felt a sense of duty to live up to his demands, to be the perfect daughter in the eyes of society. As she lay in the plush hospital bed, Lisa's thoughts drifted to Roger, the man who had become an unexpected and significant part of her life. Despite the obstacles and her father's disapproval, she had found solace and understanding in his presence. Roger's past, marked by hardship and resilience, had drawn them together in a way that transcended social norms and expectations. She admired his strength and the way he had turned his life around, and she cherished the moments they had shared, even if they were fraught with uncertainty. The soft hum of the medical equipment and the muted whispers of the night staff provided a backdrop to Lisa's reflections. She thought of the future, of the challenges and joys that awaited her as a mother of triplets. The weight of responsibility was immense, but so was the potential for boundless love and happiness. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to navigate it with grace and courage. Morning light filtered through the curtains, signaling the start of a new day. Lisa felt a renewed sense of resolve. She would face the challenges head-on, for the sake of her children and for her own sense of self-worth. Her father's influence might loom large, but she was ready to carve out her own path, one that was defined by love, resilience, and independence. As the doctors and nurses began their rounds, Lisa took a deep breath, preparing herself for whatever lay ahead. She was not alone in this journey. She had her children, her memories, and the hope for a brighter future. With each passing moment, she grew stronger, ready to embrace the unpredictable twists and turns of life with an unwavering spirit. From those humble beginnings, Lisa's life had veered onto a tumultuous path. Raised with an unwavering respect for elders and an ingrained obedience to authority, this mindset persisted even after her adoption. Her new life in a grand, luxurious mansion was a stark contrast to her earlier days of hiding bread and candy under her pillow. Every whim was catered to, but her father was a man of strict discipline and high demands. Her days were regimented to the minute, though there were occasional glimpses of leniency from him. Lisa's routine was a grueling one: school, followed by swimming and English lessons, and only then returning home. Despite the stringent schedule, Lisa thrived academically, yet she was still a child at heart, longing for the simple joys of childhood. She yearned to join other kids at the cinema, indulge in sleep until dinner time, or simply revel in the carefree moments her peers enjoyed. But her father was resolute in his disapproval. He forbade such pursuits, ensuring her focus remained on her studies, striving to meet his lofty expectations. Upon finishing high school, Lisa continued her academic journey at university, where she graduated with distinction. Social activities and friendships were sacrificed at the altar of her father's ambitions. He aimed to mold her into a formidable businesswoman, imparting his extensive knowledge of running a successful enterprise and navigating the treacherous waters of competitive business. However, his vision for her was not to be realized. Lisa, with her gentle, reserved, and compassionate nature, was ill-suited to the cutthroat world of ambitious entrepreneurs. Now, as she lay in the hospital room, the weight of her father's stringent upbringing bore heavily on her. The realization that she was on the brink of single motherhood without his support was a daunting prospect. Her life, marked by strict discipline and high expectations, had not prepared her for this profound challenge. The shadows of her past loomed large, shaping her present anxieties and fears as she grappled with the immense responsibility that awaited her. This compelled Paul to drastically shift his strategy, fervently urging Lisa to marry quickly and produce heirs, as he desperately needed someone to inherit the business in his declining years. Convinced of his daughter's inability to manage the enterprise, he wasted no time in arranging a match for her Martin, the governor's son. Paul had meticulously calculated the benefits of this alliance long before, anticipating the social and economic advantages it would yield. Lisa, acutely aware of her father's stringent expectations, dared not defy him and reluctantly began dating the young man. At first, there was a semblance of connection between them, but it soon became glaringly obvious that they were worlds apart. Martin's personality was intense and fiery, driven by an insatiable thirst for thrill and excitement in every facet of life. In stark contrast, Lisa was a creature of tranquility and introspection. Martin's energetic disposition was alien and unsettling to her. She found solace in the serene solitude of the park, where she could lose herself in the pages of a book or be soothed by the gentle strains of soft music. The chaotic ambience of clubs and rock concerts, which Martin frequently dragged her to, left Lisa feeling profoundly uncomfortable. The deafening music and rowdy crowds plagued her with relentless headaches, and she longed for an escape. Martin, on the other hand, was consumed by boredom within the quiet confines of their home, his restlessness driving him into the embrace of an alluring biker girl named Mia. The profound differences between them made it impossible to forge a lasting bond, and eventually, the couple's dreams of building a family crumbled into dust. Paul, seething with frustration, chastised Lisa with harsh words. "Lisa, what in the world were you thinking? You turned your back on my business and spurned the chance for a promising marriage. You let go of such a bright future with your fiancé. How could you?" His voice, heavy with disappointment, continued, "You know what, my dear? Do as you wish, but I beg you to grant me the joy of a grandchild. Please, is that too much to ask?" The following day was prominently marked on their calendar as their appointment with the fertility center. They were set to meet with a highly recommended doctor, whose expertise would determine if they could fulfill their dream of conceiving a child. Despite living together for 6 months, Lisa and Martin had not yet tasted the joy of pregnancy. Doubts and fears began to gnaw at Lisa's heart, making her wonder if there was an unseen issue hindering their path to parenthood. At first, Lisa was deeply wounded by the doctor's probing questions. She felt as if he were intruding into the most private corners of their lives, almost accusing her of being infertile. His manner left her feeling attacked and defensive. She was tired of being treated like a marionette, her strings pulled by others' expectations. Nonetheless, out of a sense of obligation and perhaps a sliver of hope, she agreed to visit the fertility center. Inside, she was a bundle of nerves. Following a comprehensive examination, the doctor sat Lisa down to deliver his diagnosis, his tone grave. "Please have a seat and listen carefully. What I am about to tell you may be very upsetting," he began. "You have congenital abnormalities that mean you will never be able to conceive a child naturally." The words hit Lisa like a thunderbolt. Overwhelmed with shock and sorrow, she broke down in tears. The realization that she would never experience the joys of motherhood was a crushing blow. However, the doctor quickly offered a glimmer of hope, urging her not to give in to despair. "Do not lose heart, for there is still a path forward. Medical science has made incredible strides, and what once seemed impossible is now within reach. While natural conception may be out of the question, there is an alternative: artificial insemination. This procedure involves collecting genetic material from both you and your partner and transferring it to your uterus, allowing nature to take its course. Yes, it can be quite expensive, but the chance of conceiving twins or even triplets is much higher. We typically transfer multiple embryos to maximize success. Rest assured, our clinic boasts an impressive 85% success rate, with countless families realizing their dreams of parenthood. So please, hold on to hope. You too can experience the miracle of bringing a child into the world." With tears streaming down her face, Lisa managed a fragile smile. "Doctor, I can't thank you enough for your words of encouragement. Once I find the love of my life and get married, I'll seek your guidance immediately. Although it's still too soon to consider such matters, especially since I don't even have a boyfriend." She admitted, unaware that her father was lurking just outside the door, eavesdropping on their conversation. Little did she know, Paul had become consumed by an overwhelming obsession. He was in a state of delirium, desperately longing for grandchildren and persistently urging Lisa to take this unconventional step. At first, Lisa hesitated. "Daddy, how can you even imagine it?" she questioned. "Martin and I broke up. I don't even have a potential father for the child. Who will be the baby's daddy, and why the rush? After all, I'm not even 40 years old." But the determined businessman was relentless. "Darling, please try to listen and understand," he pleaded. "Yes, you may not be 40 yet, but I'm already in my 60s. I have raised you as my own daughter. Throughout your life, I have always provided you with everything you desired, from top-notch tutors to stylish clothing and the latest smartphones. I spared no expense. And now all I ask of you is to grant me the joy of becoming a grandparent. The doctor has informed us that you are unable to conceive naturally, so why should we wait any longer? I will diligently search through the donor database, thoroughly examining their backgrounds to select the perfect candidate. If not now, then when? Time is of the essence, and I want to ensure that I have enough time to guide my future grandchildren towards success. After all, what will happen to the empire I have tirelessly built over the years if I am unable to witness their triumphs?" Her father's proposal left Lisa feeling conflicted. On one hand, she couldn't shake the feeling that his plan was unnatural and would only lead to trouble. It seemed as though he was using her solely as a means to have grandchildren, disregarding her own desires and happiness. The thought made her feel hurt and sick to her stomach. Yet, deep down, there was a part of her that couldn't deny the truth in his words. She didn't want to remain childless, and the idea of having a son or daughter brought her joy. It was a difficult decision to make, but one that she knew she had to face. In her current predicament, the prospect of conceiving a child seemed viable only through an encounter with an unknown individual. Yet, does that truly matter? There are countless heartbreaking stories where a fiancé deserts a pregnant woman, a scenario even more harrowing. Then, almost as if by fate, among the candidates available for artificial insemination, Roger emerged. He was a young man with a tender smile, exuding warmth and boasting a robust, sun-kissed physique. She always felt Roger was unlike anyone she had ever known, though his past remained shrouded in mystery. Despite Paul's persistent warnings, she dismissed any doubts and chose Roger as her partner for artificial insemination. For a time, no one noticed her absence, and the baby slept soundly. The entire procedure unfolded seamlessly. Her heart raced so intensely it felt on the verge of exploding from her chest. This was the first time in her life she defied her father's commands and carved her own path. The hospital room exuded a serene, pristine, and comforting ambience, akin to the coziness of home. This was no surprise, given the staggering expense of this elite private clinic. Only wealthy women could afford to give birth here, and Lisa was among them. At 24, she was strikingly beautiful, with a radiant smile and gentle eyes. Normally serene and composed, Lisa's demeanor had drastically shifted. An unrelenting restlessness gripped her as she paced anxiously, unable to find peace. There was a woman on the brink of embarking on the miraculous journey of motherhood. However, what made her situation even more remarkable was the fact that she was expecting not just one, but 3 precious little lives. The day of Lisa's discharge had finally arrived, filling her with eager anticipation. From the morning, as the clock struck 11, she ventured outside with her newborns, scanning the surroundings for Roger. To her astonishment, she saw him standing with 2 policemen, impeccably dressed in an expensive suit. He held a stunning bouquet of flowers and balloons. Looking immaculate and well-groomed, he appeared anything but destitute. Yet Lisa couldn't help but wonder why the police were there. What could possibly be unfolding? She didn't need any more complications at this juncture. Bewildered, Lisa observed the gathering of nurses, their curiosity palpable as they watched the drama unfold. It was evident that such scenes were an anomaly. One of the policemen approached Lisa and greeted her courteously, "Good afternoon." He continued, "The man who took a considerable sum of money from your vehicle, do you know him?" Trying to mask her anxiety, Lisa nodded, striving to appear composed and unaffected. "Did he steal the money from you?" "He insists there's a connection to your husband." "Is there any truth to that?" Lisa continued nodding, attempting to project an air of nonchalance. "I apologize. It seems there has been a misunderstanding. Indeed, that is my husband," she declared proudly, her face lighting up with a radiant smile. "I personally gave him the car as a gift. So you see, officer, everything is perfectly in order. Please excuse us as we are in the midst of a joyous occasion. Our precious triplets are finally coming home. May we proceed to our humble abode?" The officer responded with a simple, apologetic tone. "We deeply regret any inconvenience caused. We had to ensure the safety of your car. Well done. Have a pleasant day ahead." With those words, the police officer departed. Roger, unperturbed by the recent events, eagerly embraced Lisa, handing her a stunning bouquet of flowers. In his arms, he held 2 precious baby boys, while Lisa cradled their darling little girl. Overwhelmed with emotion, Roger expressed his gratitude. "My love, I cannot thank you enough for bringing our beautiful babies into this world. I am sorry I couldn't return from my business trip sooner. My love for you is boundless. My dear, let us return to our humble abode and revel in our joyous union." With hearts pounding in excitement, the couple flagged down a taxi and set off on their journey home, leaving the nurses astounded by the surprising revelation of a husband accompanying this mysterious and affluent woman. Despite their earlier encounter with the police, Lisa's heart brimmed with sheer joy, her happiness radiating outward as everything had unfolded perfectly. Filled with immense gratitude, the young mother turned to her companion, her voice filled with heartfelt emotion. "Roger, words cannot capture how thankful I am. You truly pulled me out of a challenging situation. It seemed like everyone believed we were a couple. Your acting was extraordinary as you played the role of my husband. Please don't worry about the car. Feel free to take the remaining funds. It's just my spare vehicle, so I don't keep large sums of money inside. Again, thank you for your incredible help." "Good luck," Roger said, feeling a flush of embarrassment. He spoke softly, expressing his delight in assisting Lisa and his pleasure in being momentarily married to such a beautiful woman. He lamented the brevity of their marriage, considering himself nothing compared to her princess-like status. Yet, he assured her that if she ever needed help again, she knew where to find him. He wished her well and complimented her on her adorable babies before they parted ways. Later, Paul's anger flared when he found Lisa at home with the children. He demanded to know why she had left the hospital alone in a cab when they had agreed he would pick her up at 2. With unwavering confidence, Lisa lied, explaining that the discharge had been rescheduled and assuring him everything was fine. She then introduced him to their long-awaited grandchildren, calling him Grandpa. The overwhelming thought of managing 3 little ones all by myself was daunting. "We really should consider hiring a nanny," she suggested. However, Paul's face darkened with a stern frown as he retorted firmly, "We don't need a nanny. You have the strength to handle everything on your own. Learn to overcome challenges, my dear. I will hire a nanny, but only for a maximum of 3 hours a day. You must not allow yourself to become too comfortable. Being a mother means dedicating yourself fully to raising our children. It is your primary responsibility now." Lisa's heart shattered as her father's harsh words pierced through her soul. The anguish of hearing him dismiss her capabilities as if she were utterly inept was unbearable. Why did he inflict such pain upon her? Despite his desperate pleas for grandchildren, he now seemed to abandon her, expecting her to manage everything alone. From that day onward, Lisa's life descended into a relentless torment. The initial 6 months were a harrowing ordeal as her babies refused to synchronize their eating and sleeping patterns. Whenever one child finally succumbed to sleep, the other would wail inconsolably, creating an endless cycle of exhaustion. Their tiny bodies were plagued by constant ailments, tummy aches, teething pains, and a myriad of other issues. It felt as though trouble was a constant companion. In the midst of this chaos, a beacon of hope emerged in the form of Nanny Helen. With the insight that only experience could bring, she stepped in to provide much-needed respite. Sensing the looming breakdown of the young mother, Helen deftly whisked the babies away for a refreshing walk. Her voice filled with empathy, she urged Lisa to abandon her overwhelming list of chores and seek solace in her bed. "If you don't take care of yourself now," Helen cautioned, "you'll be too drained to even get up in the morning. You're running on fumes, my dear." Paul, completely perplexed by the gravity of Lisa's daily battles, failed to grasp the enormity of her struggles. "I could handle a full day's work without breaking a sweat," he commented. "It would be so much easier for you." Helen, her tone dripping with empathy, observed the flicker of mixed emotions on his face, embarrassment mingling with a flush of realization. Despite his awkwardness, his underlying joy was unmistakable. Well, if it isn't Lisa," he greeted her warmly, his voice laced with genuine admiration. "You look absolutely radiant. Have you lost weight? And my, how the little ones have grown. They are simply adorable. Your daughter is the spitting image of you. But the boys, well, they definitely take after their father, don't they?" Settling onto a nearby bench, Lisa distributed water to her children, summoning the courage to broach a sensitive topic. "You know, you're such a capable and hardworking person. Why don't you pursue a regular job instead of this temporary gig? I see so much potential in you. It's just difficult for me to comprehend why you're in this situation. Where do you find shelter at night?" Lisa's voice trembled with a mixture of curiosity and embarrassment. Despite her own struggles, she couldn't help but feel that her burdens paled in comparison to Roger's plight. Roger couldn't help but ponder Lisa's words. Did he really want to keep everything bottled up inside? Maybe she could offer some assistance. The thought of escaping this homeless existence was undeniably appealing. Lisa's intentions were not meant to be offensive, she simply wanted to understand his situation. With a heavy sigh, Roger decided it was time to open up. He had been harboring these emotions for far too long. "You're right, Lisa," he admitted, his voice tinged with resignation. "This isn't how life should be, and it's all my own doing." Reflecting on his past, he shared, "I had a normal family, at least in the beginning. My mom and I lived in a modest apartment, but no matter how hard I searched, I could never uncover any information about my father. Despite that, I had the most amazing mom. She loved me unconditionally and supported me in every way she could. Working tirelessly as a cook in the canteen, she always made sure I had warm pies and other delicious treats. But the weight of raising me alone eventually took its toll on her, leaving her completely drained. However, comprehension eluded me. My sole focus was on socializing with my friends. The concept of studying held no appeal, and instead, I incessantly pestered my mother for a new phone or computer. Despite her best efforts, my mother worked extra shifts on weekends to ensure that I lacked nothing. Yet my desires knew no bounds, and I yearned to splurge and indulge myself. After completing high school, I pursued a college education, and my mother extended her support by securing a job for me as an electrician in a factory. Nevertheless, I continued to engage in heated arguments and clashes with her. In my mind, she was just trapped within the confines of outdated stereotypes. My wings were unable to fully unfurl. The weight of misery seemed to engulf my entire existence, leaving me yearning for instant gratification. Whether it be winning the lottery or seeking out a quick and effortless path to wealth, I craved it all. In my pursuit, I found myself entangled in the clutches of a nefarious crowd, succumbing to the allure of drinking and gambling. It was a treacherous path that led to addiction, consuming me entirely. Blinded by the allure of a life-changing jackpot, I squandered my entire paycheck in that place, convinced that fortune was just within reach. Despite my mother's desperate attempts to reason with me, her words fell on deaf ears. The weight of her concern grew unbearable, reaching a breaking point. As my addiction spiraled out of control, so did my life. I lost my job, my friends distanced themselves, and my mother, the one person who had always stood by me, was left heartbroken and helpless. I became a shell of the person I once was, wandering the streets, consumed by regret and despair. Roger's eyes filled with tears as he continued, "It's hard to admit, but I am responsible for my own downfall. I ignored all the warnings and advice, thinking I knew better. But now, looking at my life, I realize how wrong I was. I need to change. Lisa, I can't continue like this. Your words have made me see that I can't do this alone. I need help, and maybe, just maybe, I can turn my life around." Lisa listened intently, her heart aching for Roger. She saw the vulnerability and pain in his eyes and knew that offering her support was the right thing to do. "Roger, it's never too late to change," she said softly. "I believe in you. Let's figure this out together. You don't have to face this alone anymore." Tragically, her health deteriorated rapidly, succumbing to a fatal heart attack. The burden of guilt weighed heavily upon me, knowing that my actions had played a significant role in her untimely demise. It was my own hand that led her to her final resting place, when my mother was alive. I hardly paid her any mind, but once she was gone, reality came crashing down upon me. The once bustling apartment now felt desolate and empty. There was no one to shower me with affectionate inquiries about my well-being or to ask how my day had been. No one to say those three precious words. I love you. I used to find her constant questioning irritating, but now, without her presence, my friends began to lead me astray, and I found myself falling back into the dangerous grip of gambling. And that's how I ended up losing the apartment, or rather, it was snatched away from me by a group of ruthless criminals. When I attempted to reclaim what was rightfully mine, they unleashed their fury upon me, warning me to vanish from their sight forever. Or else threats of death were hurled at me, and my passport was forcibly taken away to ensure that I would not report the incident. As a result, I found myself without a home. Thankfully, my grandmother had left me an old dilapidated house on the outskirts of a city, which now serves as my humble abode. However, the absence of proper identification has made it nearly impossible for me to secure a regular job. Now, my dear princess, you have been fully acquainted with my story. This is my way of repaying for all the wrongs I have committed. Lisa was taken aback by this revelation. She couldn't comprehend the situation. But isn't it possible to obtain a new passport? Simply explain that you have lost it, complete the necessary application, and they will issue a replacement, albeit with a fine. I am more than willing to provide you with the funds. Please don't worry. Roger pondered, scratching the back of his head. It's not solely about money, although money does play a part. The truth is, I'm terrified of those fools. But you're absolutely right. I need to take action. This life of homelessness has become unbearable. And what about you? You still haven't reconciled with the father of your children. It must be incredibly tough raising them on your own, huh? Roger continued, his voice tinged with a deep sadness. Tragically, her health declined rapidly, and she succumbed to a fatal heart attack. The weight of guilt was unbearable. Knowing my actions had played a significant part in her untimely death, it felt like my own hands had pushed her to her grave. While she was alive, I scarcely gave her a second thought, but in her absence, the reality hit me hard. The once lively apartment was now an echoing void. Devoid of her affectionate inquiries about my day or her loving words. I love you, what I once saw as her nagging, I now desperately missed. Left to my own devices, I was led astray by friends, spiraling back into the dangerous grip of gambling. That's how I lost the apartment. Or rather, it was forcibly taken from me by a gang of merciless thugs. When I tried to reclaim it, they beat me ruthlessly and warned me to disappear forever, threatening my life and confiscating my passport to prevent me from reporting the crime. I found myself homeless. Thankfully, my grandmother had left me an old, run-down house on the city's outskirts, which is now my refuge. But without proper identification, securing a stable job has been nearly impossible. Now, my dear princess, you know the full extent of my story. This is my way of making amends for all the wrongs I've committed. Lisa was stunned by his revelation. She struggled to wrap her mind around it. But surely you can get a new passport. Just tell them you lost it. Fill out the necessary forms, and they'll issue a new one, even if there's a fine. I'm more than willing to help with the money. Please don't worry. Roger scratched the back of his head, deep in thought. It's not just about the money, although that's part of it. Honestly, I'm terrified of those men. But you're right. I need to take action. Living like this is unbearable. And what about you? Have you made peace with the father of your children? It must be incredibly tough doing this all on your own. Lisa sighed, her eyes reflecting the weight of her struggles. Reconciliation isn't on the horizon. Raising them alone is exhausting, but it's a challenge I have to face. Maybe like you, it's time I take action and find a way to make things better for us all. Lisa suddenly interjected, her voice trembling slightly. Well, here's the thing, she confessed. There was no father involved in the conception of my children. I was like the modern-day Virgin Mary. I agreed to undergo an immaculate conception procedure. Sure, my father has wealth, but that doesn't bring me any solace. With that, she poured out her heart to Roger, revealing every torment she had carried within her soul for all those years. She had never realized that all she needed was someone to lend an ear, until now. As she concluded her heartfelt confession, she made it clear that despite the numerous challenges she faced, her love for her children knew no bounds. The identity of their father was irrelevant to her. They were undeniably hers. Sacrificing her own love life seemed inevitable with 3 kids to care for, but she had come to terms with it. Her sole purpose in life was to ensure the well-being of her precious babies. Roger couldn't believe what he had just heard. "You are truly a mother of immense strength and courage," he exclaimed. "Not everyone has the bravery to make such selfless choices. Your father's actions are inexplicable. How can he claim to love you while inflicting such cruelty? It seems that both of us have taken a wrong turn in life, ending up in similar unfortunate circumstances. You know, Lisa, I'm incredibly grateful that our paths crossed. Meeting you for the first time felt like embarking on an extraordinary adventure, and being around you brings me a sense of peace and contentment. Just sitting and talking with you, even though it may seem insignificant, soothes my soul in ways I can't explain." Lisa's smile widened, a glimmer of hope sparkling in her eyes. "You're absolutely right. We should meet here in the park more often. I need to take the kids for a walk every day. Come back tomorrow, and we can continue our conversations." Roger agreed wholeheartedly. From that point on, they started meeting almost every day. Their conversations could stretch on for hours as they discovered how remarkably similar their tastes were in food, music, and movies. To ensure constant communication, Lisa gifted Roger an affordable cell phone. Now they were always just a call away. In their shared moments, Lisa felt a renewed sense of purpose, a lightness she hadn't known in years. Her days, once filled with endless chores and sleepless nights, now had pockets of joy and connection. Roger, too, felt a shift in his spirit. The once overwhelming loneliness that had plagued his life began to dissipate, replaced by a growing bond with Lisa and her children. Their friendship deepened, built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of their struggles. Lisa found herself looking forward to their daily meetings, cherishing the simple moments of laughter and conversation. Roger, inspired by Lisa's unwavering love and resilience, started to believe in the possibility of a brighter future. One sunny afternoon, as they sat on their favorite bench, Roger turned to Lisa with a thoughtful expression. "You know, Lisa, you've given me a lot to think about. Maybe it's time I stop hiding and start rebuilding my life. I want to be someone my mother would be proud of, someone worthy of your friendship." Lisa's eyes welled up with tears of gratitude and hope. "You already are, Roger. We all make mistakes, but it's what we do to make things right that truly matters. And you, my friend, have the heart of a lion. I believe in you." From that day forward, Roger took steps to reclaim his identity and find stable employment, while Lisa continued to navigate the challenges of single motherhood with a newfound sense of support and companionship. Together, they faced the world with renewed strength, finding solace and inspiration in each other's unwavering presence. Their bond, forged in adversity, blossomed into a source of enduring strength and hope. Of course, word eventually reached Alan that his daughter and Roger were regularly talking in the park. Learning that Lisa was engaged in conversation with a questionable wanderer left the businessman infuriated, leading to a stern scolding of Lisa once they arrived home. "My dear, have you lost your senses? Has something happened to your mental state since giving birth? Why are you befriending vagrants? And why am I hearing about this from strangers?" The words struck Lisa with a wave of embarrassment, causing her to instinctively offer excuses. "Daddy, please lower your voice. We don't want to wake the babies." Roger, a genuinely kind and intelligent individual, has always been a dear friend of mine. Engaging in conversations with him is always a pleasure due to his polite demeanor and sharp wit. Unfortunately, circumstances led him to become homeless unintentionally. However, there is hope on the horizon. as he will soon regain his identification and return to living a life like any other ordinary person. Paul, on the other hand, became infuriated and questioned Lisa's peculiar choice of befriending someone experiencing homelessness. Perhaps it was the allure of that destitute man that captivated your heart. I must insist that you sever ties with him. It would bring shame upon our family name. Lisa, in a rare display of anger, erupted, venting her frustrations. I am utterly exhausted by the weight of our family name, Daddy. Sometimes I wish you had left me at the orphanage all those years ago. You didn't rescue me, you shattered my existence. You suffocate me, dictating every aspect of my life. Have you not realized that you have stolen my youth and my freedom? Not once did you inquire about my desires throughout my entire childhood. Swimming, in my opinion, was detestable. The fear of water still lingers within me. And what about the IVF? Did you ever consider my feelings when you coerced me into it? Is this the way a father should express love towards his daughter, especially when she is in need of my support with 3 children? Of course. I adore my children, and they are my reason for existence. But at the tender age of 24, I deserve a life of my own. It's time to put an end to this. Enough is enough. This is my life, and I will choose my own friends and partners without anyone's interference. Her words hung heavy in the air, a cascade of pent-up frustration spilling out with raw intensity. Alan, taken aback by his daughter's sudden outburst, stood in stunned silence. He had never seen her so resolute, so adamant about her own autonomy. The revelation of her deep-seated resentment hit him like a ton of bricks, shaking the very foundation of his understanding of their relationship. Lisa's voice softened, but her resolve remained firm. Daddy, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I need to live my life on my own terms. Roger has shown me kindness and understanding, something I've desperately needed. My children and I deserve a chance at happiness, free from the burdens of your expectations. I need to make my own choices, and that includes choosing who I spend my time with. Alan's face softened, a mix of emotions playing across his features: shock, regret, and a hint of understanding. He realized that his well-intentioned actions had inadvertently caused his daughter immense pain. He took a deep breath, trying to process the gravity of her words. Lisa, he began, his voice tinged with remorse, I never intended to make you feel this way. I thought I was doing what was best for you, but I see now that I've been wrong. Your happiness means everything to me, and if being friends with Roger brings you peace, then I won't stand in your way. I just want you to be happy and fulfilled. Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as she saw the sincerity in her father's expression. She stepped forward and embraced him, feeling a weight lift off her shoulders. Thank you, Daddy. That's all I've ever wanted. From that day forward, their relationship began to heal. Alan made a conscious effort to support Lisa's choices, giving her the space and freedom she needed. Meanwhile, Lisa continued to meet Roger in the park, their friendship growing stronger with each passing day. The children adored Roger, and his presence became a source of joy and stability in their lives. In the end, Lisa found a balance between her responsibilities as a mother and her need for personal fulfillment. She learned that true love and support came from those who accepted her for who she was, without trying to control her. And with Roger by her side, she felt ready to face whatever challenges life threw her way, confident in the knowledge that she had the strength to overcome them. The businessman was taken aback. His daughter had never spoken to him in such a defiant manner before. He tightened his fists and retorted, "Is that so? Unappreciative, you're just parroting your new acquaintance's beliefs. But that's all right, I'll fix it. Stay at home, take care of the children. That's your responsibility." Lisa wept bitterly as she entered the nursery. Upon hearing Brandon's cries, she proceeded to change his diaper, feeling a deep sadness and profound hurt. Why doesn't her father love her? Why won't he make an effort to listen to her, to understand her? Why won't he let her live her own life, Will things always be this way? Paul was furious, pacing around his office and desperately brainstorming ways to protect his daughter from this scoundrel. He couldn't allow her to fall for him and bring this worthless person into their home. Determined, he summoned the head of the security department and issued his orders. "Stanley, I need your undivided attention, Mr." Johnson urgently whispered. "I have a crucial task for you. My daughter is about to meet someone in the park, and I need you to shadow her discreetly. Once you locate this individual, confront him firmly. Make it clear that he must keep his distance from her. Advise him that I possess the authority to have him incarcerated if he persists. I suspect these individuals are engaging in unlawful activities, and I will not hesitate to impose penalties upon them. And make sure not to procrastinate. It's of utmost importance." Lisa disregarded her father's advice and, a few days later, found herself face to face with Roger once again. Still reeling from her father's actions, she confided in her friend about the situation. He simply shook his head and responded with a hint of anger. "Your father is nothing but a dictator. Who does he think he is, trying to dictate your every move?" "Lisa, ever since I've met you, I've undergone a profound transformation, and my perspective on life has completely shifted, in a different approach. I've made the decision to begin anew. I will swiftly resolve the issue with my identification. I promise you, once everything is in order. I will secure a respectable job and provide assistance to you. I desire for you to break free from your father's influence and embark on a life of your own choosing, not the life he envisions for you, but the life you truly desire. I understand the challenges you face with 3 children, but I will be by your side, and together we will overcome them. Both of us need to make changes in our lives to find happiness. What are your thoughts?" Lisa was astonished at how accurately Roger had captured her own thoughts and aspirations. In a hushed tone, she replied, "In my wildest dreams, I wish my father would simply leave me be and stay out of my life. Taking such a desperate step on my own is out of the question. However, if you were by my side, I would greatly appreciate it. But first, let's address all of your issues, and then we can reassess. Roger, I have deep affection for you. We are kindred spirits, and I sincerely hope we never have to part ways. All right, I have to go now. I'll see you this weekend. I eagerly anticipate our next encounter. Goodbye." As she walked away, Roger felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew he had to act quickly to set his life in order, not only for himself but for Lisa and her children. The thought of providing a stable, loving environment for them filled him with determination. He set out to resolve his identification issues, vowing to secure a job and prove his worth. Meanwhile, Lisa returned home, feeling a mix of fear and hope. She knew standing up to her father would be an ongoing battle, but Roger's words had given her the courage to envision a different future, one where she was free to make her own choices and live a life filled with genuine love and support. The weekend couldn't come soon enough, and with each passing day, the bond between her and Roger grew stronger, offering a glimpse of the happiness they both longed for. Roger embraced her tightly, then gently caressed the children's cheeks, who were already beaming at him, and left with a renewed sense of determination, ready to make a change. Lisa stormed into his life like a force of nature, completely upending everything he knew. From that moment on, his mind was consumed by thoughts of her. He couldn't help but be in awe of her bravery. Her heart tightened. Lisa banged urgently on her neighbor's door. A silver-haired elderly man answered. The young mother immediately bombarded him with questions. "Excuse me, have you seen Roger? I can't find him anywhere, and he's not at home." The neighbor exhaled deeply. "Something happened this past Thursday. I was returning from the grocery store when I saw Roger unconscious, bleeding in a puddle. I called an ambulance right away. They took him to the city hospital. It's dreadful to think who could do such a thing to him." Lisa felt her legs buckle beneath her, feeling suddenly ill. She quickly called her babysitter, left her children in safe hands, and drove to the hospital. Her only thought was, "Oh my God, how is Roger? Is he okay? He didn't have his ID on him. Will they even treat him? I have to help him. I can't leave him like this." It took an agonizingly long time for Lisa to find out which hospital Roger had been taken to. Finally, a nurse relayed the details after consulting with the doctor. Her voice low, "I'm sorry, but your friend slipped into a coma yesterday. He has severe injuries and a concussion. He's on the brink of life and death." Lisa cried out, "No. How could this happen? Who would do this to him? He's such a kind soul. Maybe he needs medication. I'll get whatever is needed. Please just save him." "I beg you," she spoke at length with the doctor, who promised to keep her updated on any changes in Roger's condition. Lisa paid for all his medical procedures and care and began visiting him regularly. Yet each visit brought the same dire update: his condition was critical, with no improvement. Prepare for the worst. Devastated, Lisa wept, unable to accept that she might lose Roger. She prayed for his recovery and believed fervently that he would improve. She despised those responsible for his condition. But as they say, trouble doesn't come alone. A week later, the police arrived at Lisa's doorstep. Her father was arrested, accused of assaulting Roger. His assistant had reported him and provided a video recording from a phone that showed the attack on a homeless man. In disbelief, Lisa erupted in hysterics. "Daddy, please say it isn't true. You couldn't have done such a thing, could you? How could you beat a man nearly to death? Why? Tell me. I need the truth." Her father, a shocked businessman, didn't deny the charges and quietly responded, "Yes, I instructed my security chief to confront this vagrant and tell him to stay away from you. But I never ordered them to kill him. I didn't mean for this to happen, my dear. I'm so sorry." As Lisa watched her father being led away, she whispered bitterly, "I hate you, Daddy. You've ruined my life again. You've destroyed it. Why? How dare you? What did Roger ever do to you?" Paul was bewildered himself. "Why did they do that? I only asked them to talk to him, not to kill him. Someone has clearly set me up. But how can I prove it to Lisa? She now hates me and thinks I'm a murderer. What if this poor man dies? What then? Oh my gosh. What have I done? Why did I think I could decide for her? It's because of my damn ambitions. I feel sorry for the young man. He's the same age as my daughter." These were trying times for Lisa. She was torn between the hospital and caring for her children, all responsibilities now resting on her fragile shoulders. Despite her anger at her father, she still provided him with warm clothes and all necessities and even hired a lawyer for him. She couldn't do otherwise. From early childhood, Lisa knew her father could be tough and strict, but he never lied. Under no circumstances would he tolerate dishonesty. So someone had indeed set him up, had almost beaten Roger to death intentionally so that her father would end up in jail. One day, utterly exhausted from walking back from the hospital, where Roger showed no signs of improvement and the doctors were stumped, Lisa decided to visit a church to light a candle and request a prayer for both Roger and her father. She prayed fervently, whispering from the depths of her soul, pleading not to lose her loved ones. Miraculously, the next day brought incredible news. The doctor called to inform her that Roger had awakened from his coma. Overjoyed and in disbelief, Lisa rushed to the hospital. Though still very weak, Roger managed a faint smile upon seeing her. She sat beside him, recounting the ordeal she had endured. Then she added, "Roger, my dad swears he didn't order the attack. He just wanted to have a serious conversation with you to keep you away from me. He doesn't understand who would beat you so badly. I don't think he's lying. He's never lied to me. And now Dad's had a heart attack in prison. I'm furious with him. But I pity him too. I mean, you've been through so much. They almost killed you, and it's partly my father's fault." Roger replied quietly, "I won't press charges. Don't worry. Everything will be all right. Thank you for being by my side. I heard you covered my medical expenses. You're an extraordinary person, Lisa. I've never met anyone like you. And about your dad. I hope he comes to realize the consequences of his actions. Prison won't make him any kinder." Lisa sobbed, expressing her hope. "Thank you. I hope Daddy will be released now. When will this nightmare end? I won't let you go back to your rundown house with no proper living conditions once you're discharged. We'll have enough money for the first time." Roger nodded weakly, looking at her tenderly. "I agree. Now everything will change. Trust me, we will have our own family, and no one can stop us soon." Paul was released, as Roger had made no legal claims against him. The man rejoiced, savoring the scent of freedom as he stood outside the prison gates. A car awaited him, the driver holding the door open. Paul had thought his daughter would be there to meet him, but she was nowhere in sight. When he arrived home, he slowly realized that none of Lisa's or the children's belongings were there. Only a note lay on the kitchen table. "Daddy, don't try to find me. Roger and I are together now. Accept it and don't ruin my life anymore. I don't deserve this." Paul sank into a chair, clutching his head. "Old fool, idiot, what have you achieved? What are you left with? You pushed your daughter, trying to toughen her up, but as a result, you lost Lisa and your grandchildren." The huge mansion suddenly felt empty and cold, missing the babble of babies. No one cooked delicious breakfasts or waited for him at home. Initially, Paul set out to uncover who had framed him. He conducted his own investigation and discovered that his deputy had been secretly working for his competitors. He was the one who had persuaded the head of security to take things into their own hands and disobey the boss. Paul fired them, but it did little to ease his sorrow. He missed his daughter and grandchildren terribly, and the guilt was tormenting him. He hadn't even apologized to the poor man who had nearly died because of his orders. The businessman decided to rectify his mistake and beg for forgiveness from his daughter and Roger. It wasn't hard to find their address, and he went to visit them, full of apprehension. What if they refused to let him in? If so, they'd be justified. He'd done so many terrible things to his daughter, even though his intentions were good. The family was just sitting down to lunch, the kids clumsily tapping their spoons against their bowls, trying to eat vegetable puree, smearing it humorously all over their faces. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Lisa tensed up. Who could it be? We're not expecting anyone. Maybe it's the landlady needing something. The young mother went to open the door, finding her father standing there with a large bag and a bouquet of beautiful scarlet roses. He said timidly, "Forgive me, daughter. I've come to beg for forgiveness. Will you let me in? If you kick me out, I'll understand." Lisa's heart was moved. She had never seen her father like this before, devoid of arrogance or superiority, and his pleas for forgiveness were so heartfelt. She couldn't resist and hugged him. "Come in, Daddy. Wash your hands. We're about to have lunch. Join us." Roger eyed the businessman incredulously, still not fully believing that he had come with peaceful intentions. But Paul immediately said, "Hold on, daughter. I'll eat later. I have something important to say." He turned to Roger. "I am very sorry to you. I repent, but I didn't order them to kill you. I swear, forgive me if you can." Then, addressing both Lisa and Roger, he added, "I'm so sorry. When I realized that happiness means different things to different people, it was too late. Lisa, you're not like me, like most people, and I couldn't accept that for a long time. I wanted you to be bold and pushy. I wanted you to inherit my business, and I deliberately made things difficult for you, like tests, thinking that by overcoming them, you would grow stronger. But I endured it and kept quiet for so many years. And when I lost you, I suddenly realized how much I love you, how much I miss you, how much I miss my grandchildren. I've thought everything over, guys, and I'm not going to cause you any more problems. I promise." The guy smiled and shook the businessman's hand. "I forgive you, Paul. I'm glad you understood everything. Lisa, she's wonderful, amazing. I love her, and I love the babies too. Here, look what I've taught them." Roger clapped his hands, and the children clapped back, synchronized, one hand and then the other. Lisa felt a mixture of relief and apprehension as she watched Roger interact with her father. Her heart had been through so much turmoil, yet here they were, possibly on the brink of mending some of the deep rifts that had formed. Paul's face lit up as he watched his grandchildren mimic Roger's actions. The joy in his eyes was palpable, and for a moment, Lisa saw the father she remembered from her childhood, the one who, despite his flaws, had always loved her deeply. "Daddy," Lisa said, her voice soft but firm, "I'm willing to move forward, but things will be different now. We need to build trust again, slowly, for the kids' sake, for all our sakes." Paul nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I agree, Lisa. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be here as much or as little as you want me to be. I just want to be part of your lives, to make up for the mistakes I've made." The room was filled with cautious optimism as they sat down to lunch together. The conversation was light, mostly revolving around the children and everyday life, but there was an undercurrent of something deeper being rebuilt among them. After lunch, Paul helped clean up, a small gesture but one that did not go unnoticed by Lisa. She observed his efforts with a mixture of surprise and appreciation, recognizing his genuine attempt to bridge the gap that had grown between them. As the afternoon faded into evening, Paul prepared to leave, not wanting to overstay his welcome. "Thank you for letting me into your home and into your home and into your lives, even if just for a meal," he said, his voice laden with gratitude. His eyes reflected a depth of emotion that words could barely convey. Lisa walked him to the door, the children now sleepy and clinging to her legs. "We'll see how things go, Dad. Let's take it one step at a time," she replied, giving him a tentative smile. Paul nodded and stepped out into the cool evening air, feeling a mix of regret for the past and hope for the future. As he walked to his car, he looked back at the house, a symbol of the family he almost lost. He knew the road to redemption would be long and perhaps fraught with setbacks, but for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to face whatever challenges came his way. He was determined to restore the trust and love of his family, no matter what it took. As he drove away, his thoughts were with his daughter and grandchildren, and with the man who had forgiven him. He was grateful for this second chance, and he wouldn't waste it. Paul embraced Julia, followed by Brandon and David, showering them with hugs and kisses. Tears welled up in his eyes as he whispered, "My dear children, how I've longed for you. Grandpa simply cannot bear to be without you." In the days that followed, Paul made a conscious effort to be more involved in Lisa and Roger's lives. He offered his assistance with anything they needed, eager to demonstrate his commitment to their well-being. One evening, after spending time playing with the children, he turned to Roger and said, "If you require any help with the paperwork, just let me know. I have the means to expedite the process. I have connections in every corner. Just provide me with your birth year and place, and I will ensure a swift issuance of a new passport." Roger, still cautious but willing to trust Paul's newfound sincerity, nodded appreciatively. "Thank you, Paul. That means a lot. I've been trying to get things in order, and your help would make a huge difference." Paul smiled, feeling a sense of purpose and redemption. "Consider it done. We'll get you back on track in no time." Meanwhile, Lisa observed these interactions with a growing sense of hope. She saw her father's efforts to make amends and felt a glimmer of optimism for their future. The children, too, began to warm up to their grandfather, their initial shyness giving way to laughter and play. As the weeks turned into months, the family began to heal. Paul's dedication to rebuilding his relationship with Lisa and Roger paid off. They started to trust him more, allowing him to be a part of their daily lives. Paul's company benefited from Roger's hard work and determination, and Roger, in turn, thrived in his new role, gaining confidence and stability. The bond between Paul and Lisa also strengthened. They shared more heartfelt conversations, reminiscing about the past and dreaming about the future. Paul's support and love became a cornerstone for Lisa, who found herself feeling less burdened and more hopeful. Eventually, the family decided to host a grand wedding celebration for Lisa and Roger, marking not just their union but the unity of their entire family. It was a joyous occasion, filled with laughter, love, and a renewed sense of togetherness. Paul no longer concerned himself with the opinions of others. What truly mattered was the happiness of everyone involved, and everything else paled in comparison. As time went on, the children matured and brought immense joy to their parents. Little did Lisa know that when she impulsively chose Roger, a homeless man, as her husband and father to their child, she would discover the most unwavering, devoted, and loving partner. What started as a twist of fate quickly transformed into a beautiful reality. Life, with all its unpredictability, never fails to deliver miracles. The family, now stronger than ever, faced the future with optimism and love, knowing that they could overcome any obstacle as long as they had each other. Their journey was a testament to the power of forgiveness, the importance of family, and the enduring strength of love. The young man's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you so much. Your help would mean the world to me. I've been running from one office to another for the past 3 weeks, but to no avail. Please allow me to jot down my details." Paul's hand trembled as he held the notebook. "What did you say? It can't be. What was your mother's name?" The boy appeared bewildered. "Kate. Unfortunately, my mother has already passed away." In a sudden moment, Lisa's father transformed into a statue, his hand tightly gripping his chest. Lisa's heart raced with fear. "Dad, what's happening? Are you all right?" she exclaimed, rushing to his side. Urgently, she handed him a glass of water. "Is it your heart acting up again?" Paul slowly regained his composure, his words tumbling out in a jumbled manner. "Once upon a time, in the distant past, when I was still a young, eager student, I relished not only my academic pursuits but also the thrill of going on romantic rendezvous. During that time, I found myself entangled in a fiery, intense love affair with a girl named Kate. Our passion burned bright. But sadly, it was short-lived. Kate hailed from a humble background, raised solely by her grandmother. My parents, upon meeting her, immediately disapproved and urged me to sever ties with this seemingly ordinary girl." Roger listened intently, his expression a mix of confusion and curiosity. "I never knew any of this. My mother never spoke about her past much. She always seemed so secretive about her younger years." Paul's eyes filled with regret and sorrow. Kate was an incredible woman. Our relationship was passionate and intense. But the pressure from my family was overwhelming. They believed she wasn't suitable for me because of her modest upbringing. They convinced me that my future would be better secured without her in it. In a moment of weakness and cowardice, I ended things with Kate, breaking her heart and my own in the process. Lisa, still trying to process the revelation, asked, "Dad, are you saying that Roger could be?" Paul nodded slowly, his face a portrait of anguish. "It's possible. The timeline matches, and if Kate had a son, Roger could be my son." Roger's face paled, the weight of the revelation settling over him. "Are you saying that you might be my father?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Paul nodded again, this time more resolutely. "It's possible. We need to verify this, but if it's true, it changes everything. It means you're not just someone Lisa met in the park. You're family." The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sunk in. Lisa's mind raced, trying to reconcile the past and the present. Her father, a man she had always seen as strong and unwavering, now stood before her with a vulnerability she had never witnessed. And Roger, a man she had come to care for deeply, could potentially be her half-brother. Paul, gathering his strength, continued, "We need to do a DNA test to confirm this. If it turns out to be true, I want you to know, Roger, that I will do everything in my power to make amends. I will support you and help you build the future you deserve." Roger nodded, his emotions a whirlwind of disbelief, hope, and fear. "I don't know what to say. This is all so overwhelming." Lisa stepped forward, her hand gently resting on Roger's arm. "Whatever the outcome, we will face it together. You're not alone, Roger." Days turned into weeks as they awaited the results of the DNA test. The uncertainty was taxing, but it also brought them closer. Paul spent more time with Roger, sharing stories of his youth and listening to Roger's experiences. The bond between them grew, built on a foundation of shared history and the potential for a new future. Finally, the day arrived. The DNA test confirmed what they had all come to suspect: Roger was indeed Paul's son. The revelation, while shocking, brought a sense of closure and a new beginning. Paul embraced Roger, tears streaming down his face. "Welcome to the family, son," he said, his voice choked with emotion. Roger, overwhelmed but grateful, responded, "Thank you, Paul. I never thought I would find my family, but here we are." Lisa, her heart full, watched as her father and Roger embraced. She knew that their lives would never be the same, but in that moment she felt a sense of peace. They had found each other, and together, they would navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. The family's journey was far from over, but with love, forgiveness, and a shared determination to build a better future, they faced it with renewed hope. Life, with all its twists and turns, had brought them together in the most unexpected way, proving that even in the face of uncertainty, miracles were possible. Fate intervened when I had to embark on a business trip to a different city. The separation was prolonged, and our paths diverged, leading us down separate destinies. Little did I know, my supposedly urgent business trip was nothing more than a ploy orchestrated by my parents to drive a wedge between me and my fiancée. They believed that once I returned, I would abandon her and seek a wealthier partner. However, fate had other plans in store for me. It was during that ill-fated journey that I fell gravely ill, succumbing to the harsh grip of hypothermia. The aftermath left me barren, unable to conceive a child. Despite this setback, I poured my heart and soul into my career and built a successful business, all the while hoping to find someone who could fill the void left by Kate. Alas, my search proved fruitless. That's when I made the life-changing decision to adopt Lisa from the orphanage. But as fate would have it, a surprising twist awaited me. A son, my own flesh and blood, emerged into my life. To confirm this newfound connection, a DNA test is necessary. However, deep within my heart, I am certain that you are my beloved son. Roger was filled with an overwhelming sense of shame as he realized the near tragedy he had caused, almost taking the life of his own son. The weight of his actions pressed heavily upon him, and he desperately sought forgiveness, if such a thing could be granted. As he looked into the eyes of the businessman, disbelief washed over him. This revelation was too much to comprehend. His mind raced, and he muttered in confusion, "I don't know. I've never been told anything about my father." He needed time to process this new information, to make sense of it all. Uncertainty hung in the air as they were still unsure of the truth. In a sudden plea, Paul, the father, begged his daughter and Roger to return home. He painted a picture of the grandeur and comfort of their mansion, emphasizing how it would be a better environment for their 3 children compared to their cramped apartment. He expressed his desire for companionship, admitting that he couldn't bear to live alone. He made a promise not to interfere in their lives any longer, allowing them the freedom to live as they wished. With a heartfelt plea, he implored Roger to stand by his side. The young individuals engaged in a passionate, and intense debate about the proposal. Voices were raised, emotions ran high, and opinions clashed. However, after much deliberation, they finally reached a consensus. Renting an apartment seemed like a frivolous expense when they already owned a perfectly good house. It was a pragmatic decision, one that made sense financially and logically. A conclusive DNA test was conducted, and it confirmed the undeniable biological connection between Paul and Roger. Despite this irrefutable evidence, their relationship did not immediately improve. Roger, having lived a life filled with hardships and mistrust, found it difficult to let his guard down around Paul. He was wary of the businessman, suspecting that there might be deceit or false accusations lurking beneath the surface. However, as time passed, a remarkable transformation took place within Paul. He began to see things differently. No longer did he feel the weight of shame or the burden of societal expectations. Instead, he felt an overwhelming sense of pride in his family and a deep desire to make things right. Paul made a heartfelt commitment to mend his bond with Roger. He took proactive steps to assist his son, starting with the reclamation of Roger's identification documents. This was no small feat, as it involved navigating bureaucratic hurdles and overcoming numerous obstacles. But Paul was determined. He then went a step further and extended a job offer to Roger within his own company. This was not a mere gesture of charity, but a genuine opportunity for Roger to rebuild his life. Paul took it upon himself to impart invaluable knowledge to Roger, teaching him the ropes from the ground up. Their interactions were no longer superficial or transactional. They became deep, meaningful, and filled with mutual respect. They communicated constantly, and this regular, heartfelt dialogue bore fruit in a surprisingly short span of time. A strong bond began to form between father and son, one built on open communication, mutual respect, and genuine affection. But Paul's efforts to mend familial bonds did not stop with Roger. He was equally attentive to his daughter, Lisa. He showered her with praise, demonstrating his deep appreciation and love for her. He acknowledged her struggles and triumphs, making her feel valued and cherished. This newfound sense of unity and friendship within the family was palpable. They began to spend more time together, creating memories and strengthening their connections. After just 6 months of this transformative journey, the family decided to orchestrate a grand wedding. It was a celebration of love, unity, and the incredible progress they had made. Paul no longer concerned himself with the opinions of others. What truly mattered was the happiness of everyone involved, and everything else paled in comparison. As the years went by, the children matured and brought immense joy to their parents. Lisa, in particular, found herself reflecting on the twists and turns of her life. When she impulsively chose Roger, a homeless man, as her husband and the father of her child, she had no idea what the future held. But what she discovered was the most unwavering, devoted, and loving partner she could ever have imagined. Roger's love and commitment were steadfast, and together they built a life filled with joy, resilience, and deep, abiding love. What began as a seemingly improbable twist of fate had blossomed into a beautiful reality. Life, with all its unpredictability, had delivered a miracle. And in the end, it was the love, trust, and mutual support that truly mattered, proving that even in the most unlikely circumstances, happiness and fulfillment are always within reach. And so Lisa, a young woman of privilege, found herself at the crossroads of a remarkable journey. Pregnant with triplets and facing the immense responsibilities of single parenthood, she discovered unexpected love and support in Roger, a man who had once been homeless. Through their shared experiences and challenges, Lisa and Roger's bond grew stronger, revealing the profound impact of compassion, resilience, and the courage to defy societal expectations. As Lisa prepared to welcome her 3 little miracles into the world, she also embraced the transformative power of love and the importance of forging her own path. Her journey reminds us that life's twists and turns, no matter how daunting, can lead to beautiful and unexpected outcomes. What have you learned from Lisa and Roger's story? Share in the comments below one thing you've taken from their journey and how you plan to apply it in your own life. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiring stories and life lessons. Thank you for watching.